Hi, welcome back to another edition of Inside Great Lakes Sailing. My name is Greg Norman, your host. We're going to take a special look at the show this week. This is our 100th episode. We decided to celebrate by taking a quick trip, our second trip to Chicago, to cover SailGP and kind of watch what went on this past weekend with Russell Coutts and the Larry Ellison Oracle Show. I think you're going to find it to be interesting. We got a chance to talk with Phil Robertson, who's the Canadian driver. We had a chance to spend a little bit of time with Nikki Douglas, who was a three-time world champion, and Adventures of a Sailing Girl, if you're not aware of that. She's a two-time gold medalist. We're going to talk to her about a variety of subjects, including accents, but most importantly, she talked a little bit about a local connection in Markset Bot, which is used by the folks at SailGP, and we're going to talk to her a little bit about the future of sort of sailing and all the things that go with sailing. I think you're going to enjoy that. We wanted to spend some time with you showing the back scenes and sort of the inside view of what the process looks like, from the media day to some of the interviews with the press conference. You can certainly turn on SailGP and watch all that goes on, but kind of a behind the scenes version of what the show is, and we hope that you'll enjoy it. And for our 100th show, we're pretty proud of that. We started about 3 years ago with a dream of just being able to communicate. And here we are. Now, we've been gone for a couple of weeks. We're finishing up the summer and the spring for lacrosse and getting that through. And now we're kind of devoted to working on sailing. We will catch up next week with some of the BOD winners, Cleveland Week Sailing, and certainly the Mills race. We'll talk to those guys next week and kind of catch up before we get into the full race mode of the guys for the MAC, the Chicago to MAC, and the Port Huron MAC. And I think we've got some other really cool features. We're going to talk to the first woman Commodore in Chicago Yacht Club history. We'll talk to her hopefully in the next couple of weeks. And eventually Andrew Campbell is going to come on from Spain, talk to us a little bit about American Magic and what it's like to be the flyer. So stay tuned. We're going to start with what I think is pretty cool. They started out Wednesday night with fireworks off the Navy Pier. We had a chance to stay in the Sable Hotel. So these are pictures coming to you from the actual headquarters from SailGP. And get a chance to act like a big shot once in a while. This is one of those opportunities. They started out with a big, huge contingent of fireworks. And then just so we'll get into the press conference, there was no practice on Thursday. They took us around and a big, huge drift came through and weather change about 10 o'clock in the morning. So they had gusts up to 35 miles an hour. But we'll give you a close look at what it looks like inside the paddock, the press conference, and we'll get to that right now.
Five athletes back racing on home waters. Once again, it's Jimmy Spithill, driver of the United States SailGP team. A grand finalist last season and the most successful female sailor of all time, Hannah Mills, representing Emirates, Great Britain's SailGP team. And second last season and keen to go one better in season 4, it's New Zealand driver Peter Burling. And our newest...
Great. Well, let's also talk about the sponsors. The league has seen significant commercial success with Mubadala and Apex coming on as series partners, and Rolex and Oracle, of course, renewing their deals. As back-to-back champions, should we expect commercial results from Australia?
I'd love to say have a big announcement right now, but unfortunately we haven't secured that. But fortunately for us, Foxtel have come on for season 4 again, which is great to have a great broadcast partner like that in Australia. We've got Sky Vodka increasing their partnership with us heading into season 4, and then we're in some great discussions with some companies at the moment. So I think it's only a matter of time before we get that title sponsor and really secure Team Australia's future in this league.
Is there anything you would have done differently or plan to do differently this season?
I think we'll go about it in quite a similar way. Just trying to unpack every situation and keep improving and keep putting the pressure on and trying to be that benchmark across the league. I think Tom's done an amazing job with the Australian team, really setting that benchmark in our first season in the league. And season 2, it felt like we really closed that gap and we're right on his heels in last season, and hopefully we're looking to do one better in the next.
And why do you think that the Australians were so dominant? Because when you take a look at the season 3 points, they were very far ahead.
Yeah, I think for us as a team, we got a few extra penalty points during the middle of the year. We had a few, I suppose unlucky is not the best way to describe them, but incidents like Sydney where we didn't have a great first day and then the whole event was over. And we ended up on the wrong side of those situations. But we're really happy. All you got to do is try and win events, make sure you get into the final, and then you've got a shot. And we had a really good shot going to San Fran. We couldn't quite deliver. We thought Tommy nearly led us into the race there at the end, but it wasn't quite to be.
We're really lucky. We've got Giles Scott coming on board to do the practice racing today, so that'll be interesting. But we've just been obviously preparing as best we can. We've really looked at last season and the ups and the downs of last season and what we need to do this season to try and be in with a better shout of winning at the end. We're just excited for the start of season 4 and looking forward to getting Ben back tomorrow.
You mentioned Giles. When will we see you driving in a race, and is this your goal?
It's definitely my goal. Obviously last year I was sort of out for the year, having a baby, so coming back and just getting back on board and getting back into the strategist role has been the first goal, and then hopefully this season we're going to find a bit more time for me to do a bit more driving and see where it goes, but definitely goal to drive.
Congratulations, of course, but as a strategist, what information are you providing during the race? Can you tell the audience?
I guess every strategist is probably doing it slightly differently, but for me I'm just trying to build the picture for Ben and give him the information that he's maybe not necessarily focusing on in the moment, and trying to make sure we just avoid any big ones, which is pretty critical in these boats. So building the picture, helping him make fast decisions, the best decisions he possibly can, and avoiding crashes.
But you're correct. I mean, season 3 was a battle for us. We really struggled for consistency. We won an event, we made a couple of podiums, but we also had some bad results. Pete mentioned damage points, and we had the most damage points at the end of season 3. So you just, you can't do that in the season, expect you're going to be up there. Really looking forward to the reset. It's looking like an incredible season. It's great to see the German team involved now, and obviously a heavy presence in US events.
So what changes is your team making?
We've really looked hard at last season. The beauty of this is we can go through the data, we can go and watch a lot of the other top teams, how they're operating, their communication, how they're setting up the boat. But it really is an hours game. We just have to spend hours out there in real races against the very best in the world.
And how are you going to turn the season around with what you have been working on?
Results, it's pretty simple. In this fleet, I think the big part is trying to minimize the mistakes and just, trying to steer clear of any close situations. You really have to weigh up the risk versus reward and kind of know when to push and where to potentially back off if a situation may be setting up. And I think this season, more than any, with 10 boats now on the racetrack, that'll be really important.
How do you feel sitting here as a new Sail GP team driver next to these legends of the sport and, of course, the last 3 seasons?
Feeling very excited, happy, and honored to be here and have the chance to sail against these legends for sure. Looking forward to go on the water.
Are you nervous or relaxed before your first event tomorrow?
Both. We know that we have to focus on ourselves for the next couple of months for sure, and the progress is our highest goal. So this makes us a little more relaxed, but for sure also to have the situation on the water with 10 boats. We didn't have that before, so also very nervous about that.
And what has it been like for you and the team on the F50 so far?
Amazing. It's a great boat. It's such a fun boat, and you're surprised how unstable it is in the beginning. If you look at the broadcast and you see the people racing around, super stable, super clean. So still some work to do.
Well, let's talk about your crew. They're made up of some of the top German talent, like female double Olympic gold medalist Kahina Coons, and also a familiar face that has been competing in SailGP already. Tell us a little more about the team.
Yeah, we brought the team together, a mix of experienced guys, good characters, and some new talents from Germany. Stu Bithel is, for example, one guy who's more experienced. He sailed for the Brits one season, for the Swiss another season, gold medalist as well, and silver medalist. So quite a bit of experience on the boat as well. So like James Wybowski is another guy who sailed in the flag controller position for a couple of teams, and also Dan Morris. So yeah, we tried to mix it a little up to have a faster progress.
Of season 4 at the Rolex United States Sail Grand Prix at Chicago's Navy Pier. Now let's welcome our final 5 drivers. 4th place last season and just missing out on the season 3 grand final, it's Canton Delapierre of France. Our reigning Impact League champion, Nikolai Sayas.
Yeah, well, Jimmy sort of destroyed the old boat, so we had to rebuild it after San Francisco, and we thought it was a good time to mix it up a bit. But no, in all seriousness, it just shows a great support from Rockwool for long term, and it's a new season for us, and I think it's time that we sign into the fight for the top 3, and we just want to launch the 2.0 of the Danish team now, and it's all about performance and goals now.
So that's your goal for this season after finishing finished last season in 6th place. Your goal this season is to just be in the top 3. Walk us through that.
I think everyone up here right now have that goal. So, but we definitely happy to say it out loud that we want to be in the top 3 in San Francisco, and we have Rockwool support. We have some good sailors.
And finished the season strong with a win in New Zealand and 3rd in San Francisco. How pleased were you with the team's performance last season and that win in New Zealand?
Yeah, I think you got to understand that in Canada, before this team was launched, there was not a single professional sailing team. No one on our boat had foiled before, so if you start to put that all in perspective, I think it's a really credible result. And not only that, but the team launched the Weekend Foil program, and the byproduct of that now is you've got half the fleet here in the Inspire program that are Canadians, and they're here to win as well. And that's our motto going forward. We're a very competitive bunch, and we're here to put our best foot forward and have a crack at this title.
Being competitive, it's been a pretty tough month for the Canadian team with a change in ownership. Is that causing any uncertainty in the team, or are you pretty confident?
It's obviously quite unsettling, to be honest, when your team's not sure if you're going to be on the start line. But look, to the credit of our whole squad, they've stuck by this franchise, and I'm not too sure what Tommy was complaining about, but when you've got a group of sailors that commit to a team with no money and no certainty that you're going to be racing, that's a solid squad. And we've got a really strong team, and not only has it been a tough year for this team, we've been through a lot of adversity, but that's a massive positive, and out of that comes a real strength. And I'm pretty proud of our group, and know we've got a strong squad behind me that's ready to come out fighting.
With all eyes on you from those new owners watching this weekend, how much added pressure is put on the team to perform?
Yeah, there's no more added pressure. We're super motivated, and we want to come out swinging in this event, that's for sure.
Okay, so 10 boats on the water. How busy are you expecting it to be out there?
It's going to be no busier than the interstate here, I think. But no, it's going to be crowded, and but that's yacht racing now. The sport's changed. SailGP's changed the game, and it's what we've got to adapt to. And as sailors, we're a pretty adaptable bunch. So 10, 12, 14, 16, let's keep growing it.
Thank you, Phil. World away from the last race last season when you were just making your debut.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the year has been really intense. It's been a lot happening, and we've been learning a lot. So I'm really proud of our group, how we evolve on the water, but also off the water. So really excited to start a new season together.
Is it nice to not be the new team in town?
Yeah, it's nice. I think what's really nice for us is come here in Chicago and using the experience from last year, and that's something very new for us, to be able to use our past experience to build for a stronger event.
Is there more pressure to not get beaten by Germany, the newest team?
Not really. I think we have some clear goals within our team, and those involve all the teams, not only the Germans. And yeah, we treat the German like any other team, and we want to really climb the rankings. So it's not about beating one team or two teams. It's about beating quite a few teams.
Well, you said you want to be competitive. What is the mood in the camp entering this second year?
Yeah, I think the mood is really good. What's really nice is we have a very clear vision. We have some clear goals individually, but as a group as well. And we had a good few weeks between season 3 and the start of season 4, and I think we ready to come out firing, and really happy of the group we have together. It's a really nice atmosphere, and everybody's working really hard together to make it work.
Chance to talk to Phil Robertson. After the press conference, we just sat down for him for a couple seconds, and Fred Pye, who was the Canadian financier behind the program, we interviewed Fred last year. Fred has stepped out for business reasons. The Canadians are currently without a sponsor, and they're kind of working their way through it. Phil's been very strong in the leadership of the program to keep it together, and has been very influential. They took 3rd place this weekend. We talked a little bit about Fred and kind of what happens with the Canadians. We're certainly rooting for the Canucks to do well. There is a bid in for either Kingston or Halifax to host one of the events. This is the first race at the start of the 4th season, as they just finished up about 6 weeks ago in San Francisco. So we're going to talk to Phil, and we'll do that right now.
Yeah, look, it's extremely unfortunate. Fred's situation changed a lot since he brought the team, and it's incredibly sad to lose him. We loved having him, and he's our biggest fan and still is, and is a huge reason for everything that's gone on in Canada in the last year and a half in the sailing side of it.
You mentioned during the press conference that foils are certainly half the fleet is Canadian. Foil boats aren't being sold at the same level as obviously monohull boats. So is foiling the future in terms of the way it's headed, or is it at the higher levels maybe?
No, it's 100% the future, and you're going to see it come down to kids are going to learn to sail in foiling boats in the future. It's here to stay, and it's once you experience it for the first time, your mind is blown, and it's definitely something you'll never want to go back from. So yeah, in my opinion, it's sure going to be littered through the sport.
For junior sailing organizations, WASPs are now the same cost as 420s. So it becomes, I think, a normal argument, right?
Yeah, for sure. Look, if you want to get into it, the Wasp is a fantastic boat and platform, but there are a lot of other options as well, and it's becoming more affordable, which is nice.
Last question, what's the best part of your job?
Best part of my job? Well, I said cleaning the boat before, but
I know.
No, look, it's just such a privilege to race one of these boats. They're phenomenal. How efficient they are through the air and the water is quite unreal. So yeah, it's a pleasure to be on it every day.
Appreciate your time.
Nice, all good. Thank you.
Hey guys, I'm Mike. Welcome.
Hey Mike. As you can see behind us, there's the boats coming in. We're coming to the McCormick place. This is the paddock where all the big boats are back here. Mike was nice enough to drive us over on one of the big tethers, and we're going to get a chance to see the paddocks and kind of go through that process. As you can see, there's a variety of wing sizes up and all kinds of things going on, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. can see behind me the Spanish entry into the Sail GP. We're going to have a conversation with Diego Boten later, but we'll see where we go with it. We're going to get a little closer here and take a look at Boten nice and close.
One of the cool things that Sail GP does is that they bring in experts on almost every subject. If we're talking to somebody about tech, they know their IT. We had a chance to talk to Nikki Douglas, and we're going to talk to Nikki about a wide variety of subjects. We had to take a skiff across from the headquarters to where the inside harbor was, where the boats were being taken care of. And we talked to her about a variety of things, including the MarkSatBot program that Sail GP is using, which is obviously a local program here that's kind of been developed out of the Crescent area, and Mr. Moran and all his folks. And we're going to get a little bit of that conversation. And we're going to kind of just sort of splice together some questions and some discussion with Nikki. She's a 2-time gold medalist, 10-time world champion. Currently the third year in a row she's won the Taser dinghy championships, and she is a 15-time world champion, including match racing, which is what she was noted for. And you don't expect somebody with that background to be sort of a media guide, but it was really enjoyable talking to her about sailing because it didn't take very long for her to talk, and you'll figure out for yourself just how smart she is. The big boys had their conversations, but this was a very enjoyable conversation because you're sequestered on a small rubber boat, and we had a chance to talk. So we'll be back with that just in a couple seconds.
Which is basically where the water is boiling around the rudder and they lose control. So we will see a new rudder component come in this season, which is pretty exciting. We've only had the one rudder section previously. Now we're going to have a high-speed rudder section, which is a flat section. So we will see even faster speeds this season. It's not a might, it's a we will, because they've worked on solving that problem.
What is the sustainable top end of speed that you guys start looking at that we're not racing today?
I mean, today they're not going to reach the top end, I don't think, but I would say sustainable top end now would be over 100 Ks. So, I mean, the sustainable top end last season was 100 Ks, I think. So
after that, it's dangerous.
Yeah, I would say that was the max last season. They couldn't get above it because it got too dangerous. Not only more competitors and more people to stick in the sport for longer, it'll attract sponsors, and we can fit that broadcast window precisely as well. So.
Is that MarkSatBot just the next generation of what we're doing with sailing?
I think MarkSatBot is one of the technologies that is taking sailing to the next level in terms of catching up to other sports that have been able to be ahead of us because they're not on the water. When you add, like, we've got a baseball field, but our baseball field has to pivot all the time because the wind is never going to be the same, and it also has to move up and down. So I talk about sailing as a 4-dimensional baseball field: up, down, pivot. And the more technologies we can get to help with that problem, which is not a problem, that's why we all love it, but the more technologies we can find that can assist to make that easier and less resource heavy, the better our sport's going to be.
Do you think on the American boat having an Australian accent hurts sponsorships? Obviously you want the best sailors in the world, but my question is, there are plenty of American sailors, obviously not to the level of what is on there now. Do you think it matters?
I think Spithill is a legacy for the Americans. You can't deny how much he helped in the America's Cup that was in San Francisco in 2013. I think that sponsorship comes down to personality and not accent. And he is through and through an American. His kids are American, his wife is American. You can't deny that James Spithill is an American. So, yeah, he might have a funny accent, but I think he's a legend. And whether he is steering this team or at some point involved in a different way, I think anybody who has Spithill involved in their team is lucky to have him.
We know that inside the sport, but outside the sport, they don't know that. So was that part of the sell? Making it more sustainable to understand the sport?
I think that every single team in this league essentially has somebody who has a different accent to the nation that they're racing for. And I think that you want the best person for the job. So, and surely people can understand that. And that doesn't matter whether it's in racing or not. There's lots of F1 people who race with a different accent to where their team's from. I don't think that's relevant.
But they're not they're not racing for countries, they're racing for sponsors.
Perhaps, but that's my opinion.
Okay,
so,
thanks.
The Canadians boat, which was brand new and was meant to be delivered at the start of last season, which had got delivered, was ready. So they they got their brand new boat, and then now the Germans are on the boat and a bunch of other boats. But it's not just the kids out racing. There's positions in terms of mentoring, and in that regard, I think it's an incredible opportunity for a lot of people in our sport to find a pathway, which can be difficult.
Talk briefly about that new 15-button box that we were talking about during the press conference.
Yeah, so it's essentially going to help, I think, a little bit with presets and those elements. I mean, something that we like to have as sailors, and if you're a general sailor, I'm going to say general because we sort of use our marks. We have tape marks, we have marks that we make with textures. These guys are a little bit more technical with that, so they have now a bunch of buttons which will help with presetting factors, going around top marks, going into tacks, going into jibes, just to help with the finesse, I think, is where it's going to help at the top end. And the whole idea with SailGP, and it's also not team against team, because the whole league is accelerating together, and that's what I love. Like, you know, I was just on a media boat with Jimmy and Tom Slingsby, and, you know, they're talking all the time about how to get better, how to do better. The data is not isolated. You know, I think in F1 data becomes a bit of a currency, whereas here our data is shared, and everybody's just trying to accelerate the sport as much as they can, which is super exciting. So I'm interested to see how far we can go with all of the technology developments that we have in terms of the learning, not only from the sailors and what they feel, but the data that we have to back that up.
Makes it more efficient, does it not?
Yeah, exactly.
All the data coming out from the boats. Basically, just to give you an insight, we've got 1
million data
points. 1 billion data points per boat at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So it's a huge amount of data. It's we've got like live stream data coming up from the boat, 2,500 data points per boat per second. It's a huge amount of data.
2,500?
Yes, per boat per second.
Got it. Thank you.
And 40,000 data points per boat per second stored in the boats.
So explain that in human mind. What does that mean?
It means that we're gathering a huge amount of data, and it's like a huge Excel spreadsheet, and we're looking at that to explain what was going on the water. So basically one team is looking in the data in I would say system point of view. So the goal is to make sure that all the boats are working perfectly fine and all the systems are exactly the same, so the boats are exactly the same. And us, we're looking at the data in a more performance point of view. So all the data are shared between all the boats in SailGP. And that's a key point, because like the Australian can look at the data of the American, can look at the data of the Danish, etc., etc. And so we're taking all that data and we try to understand why a boat was going faster around the race course, why he was doing better maneuvers, and basically how to improve for the next day, and what are like the key points to hit for the next one, for the next race.
As that last picture indicates, you can certainly tell that the New Zealand guys had a chance to 5, 4. As that last picture says, 5, 4. As that last picture portrays, the New Zealand sailors had a really good time in Chicago and came away with the first victory of the first event of the 4th season of SailGP. We hope you enjoyed the 100th show of Inside Great Lakes Sailing. It has been a fun endeavor getting a chance to get to Chicago for the 2nd year. We're hopefully going to be in Los Angeles for the 2nd event in the middle of July, and we'll bring that to you. We've done 100 shows, and we just wanted to thank everybody who's watched. We're going to try and do a little more with social media and distribution, try to get the word out a little bit better. We've also passed on some local races, and we'll get caught up with those in the next week. This show started as a publicity endeavor to bring more information to junior sailing, and 3.5 years later, 38 months, we've done 100 shows. We hope that somebody's enjoyed it. We will try to give you insight, and as we bring the next few shows, we're going to try and move away from Zoom and a little more to personal opportunity. We don't do patrons, so we're not looking for money. This is a labor of love. And we hope that you've enjoyed any of the shows that we've brought to you. And we'll continue to bring the best in sailing from the Midwest and certainly from the Great Lakes. Maybe a little more up and close and personal, bring some of these sidebars, get a chance to see the sort of what peek behind the scenes and see inside baseball. We hope you've enjoyed it. We've enjoyed bringing you the first 100 shows. And honestly, I can't tell you, I can't believe we've done 100 shows, but here we are. And we'll continue to do the same work. And we hope you've enjoyed it. So for all the guys in back and all the folks in Chicago, we want to say thank you for their hospitality. It's always fun to stay on the Navy Pier. And until next time, we start our 101st show for our about the 12th show of our 4th season. My name is Greg Norman, and we'll see you next time.